And welcome everyone. It is John the Net Guy. I am just checking audio levels here. We had quite an abrupt delay. Sorry for that. Again, let me just turn the audio level down. It looks a tick hot. Thanks, Randy J, for the support there on the chat. Amazon was not taking our stream. Unfortunately, Amazon has a very tight streaming criteria, and I was using Restream, which I've used before to stream to Amazon, and there was a technical snafu. I still see the chat stuff going here. And the support guy is trying to work on it. But, I gave up after about 15 minutes of a delay. I wanted to get the show on the road. We are live. I am going to hit the go live button on Amazon here. We're doing a pretty cool show today. I hate to say it. The title looks like it did come across okay, which is we're going to talk about networking. Network wiring. We're going to do RJ45, if you know what that is. Ethernet, which you're probably using to get on the internet at some form, whether your Wi-Fi connects to your router via it, or you connect to your internet if you're really lucky via Ethernet or something else. And today is Prime Day. One of the things that's super exciting about today is the number of deals that are out there right now. I've got a bunch of shows lined up for you. I can bring up a couple of those. And I'm going to hit live for Amazon, so we'll bring the Amazon folks in here. Had to reset up my Amazon in a diagnosis mode here. But again, today's show is actually brought to you by Sedola PoE Networks. I got to bring that up. So this is their 8-port PoE plus 2 gigabits over here. Sedola Networks is sponsored today's show. I'm going to bring up the thumbnail real quick. So you guys can see some stuff here about them and what today's show entails. And it's an interactive show. Just make sure that you ask all the questions that you have. Don't want to leave anybody out. I'm not going to be able to post the questions on the screen like I normally do. So hopefully you guys can see that. So this is the thumbnail from today's show. What we're going to be doing today is talking about crimping your own cables, making cables, how to buy network cable, what kind of switching equipment you may or may not need depending on what devices you have. And again, brought to you by Sedola PoE. Now you have an opportunity to win this. There's a URL over that way. You can see it in green. If you visit thenetguy.com/Sedola, that's the sign up form just to win the entry here. So really do appreciate these guys for sponsoring that giveaway. It's live and open now, and we'll do it, I promise, before the end of the show. Take care of that. I also have other shows coming up today, one for Scepter monitors. Now, Scepter has been an awesome sponsor of my channel before. They don't pay me anything. They just provide me the product, so I don't have to go out and buy all these monitors myself. They provided some killer monitors today. A 27-inch flat IPS display that's 167 right now, and a 240 hertz 27-inch curved monitor that is literally 240 hertz for $199. We broke the $200 price mark to get to 240 hertz, which is just amazing. So again, I sincerely appreciate you guys for the small delay in starting here, but we're going to have fun today. After that, tonight I'm going to be doing a Blink home security show. We're going to be talking all about the Blink networking products and Blink home security, which will be awesome. Very excited for that. You get to see all of their cool stuff. I've got them mounted all over the house. So without further ado, coming back here, let's get the first item up on our carousel, which is actually going to be my favorite Ethernet cable. So if you're out there buying cable, you got to be really, really careful. There's many different kinds of cables you can get. This happens to be a Cat 6, and we'll talk about what the difference is. What's ironic is this also happens to be a Cat 6, and it's completely different, super thin, doesn't have all the same twists and shielding and everything, but you can very easily screw up by buying the wrong cable. So let's go over here to my Amazon page, and I'm going to show you where you can see all of the products that I'm going to be showing today. So this is my Amazon page. The URL for that, if I put that in here, is in the lower left corner now. So that URL that's scrolling by is amazon.com/shop/thenetguy. And if you visit there, you're going to see all of my different shows. Today's Prime Day show is right here. So this is the Prime Day Day 1, 8 a.m. show. There's all the equipment we have here. We've got the Platinum connectors. We've got the Sodola products here. And right over here on the side is this monoprice cable. Now, is it cheap? No, it's $208 right now is what it's showing up list. I don't know if it's on Prime because I'm not logged in right now, so you may get a better shipping deal on Prime. But this is 1,000 foot of actual CCA pure copper. Or sorry, I shouldn't say CCA, pure copper cable for networking. I have a box. It looks very, very similar. It's all beat up though because that's what I do to my stuff. But it comes in a large spool. This is a 500-foot version, I believe. And you can just peel off as much or as little as you need. So where would you use this? In your home, in your office, in your church, really anywhere that you want to have Ethernet networking. Now, Wi-Fi is great, don't get me wrong, but I really, really do appreciate, the cable connection to internet. If you're a gamer, you definitely want to be connected with a hardline cable. Wi-Fi interference, congestion, latency, all that. Why spend a bunch of money on a 240 hertz monitor if you're just going to connect over Wi-Fi and slow yourself down again? So, things like that are definitely important. I'm going to show you how you can make your own cables today with tools, but let's talk about shopping for cables. So if I just go into Amazon, and this is what most people would do, they would say bulk Ethernet cable. One of the things you have to be really, really careful for is a lot of these are going to say CCA. So this company specifically, I've seen them a lot, this VO company. So they're going to sell you 250 feet for $37, and that sounds like a great deal. But you see it says CCA Ethernet cable. That's a big red flag right there that you should be looking out for. CCA is copper clad aluminum. You don't want aluminum wire, especially outdoors. I've had them break just by, twisting too many times. The aluminum gets brittle. So what it is it means that it's copper, and they try to use the term copper around it somewhere, but it's just on the outside. So it's a copper clad. They put it on the outside cladding. Whereas this stuff from Monoprice, which I have in the carousel right now, is actually pure aluminum, pure copper. It's a day-to-day, isn't it? So this is going to be pure copper all the way through. Now this is 24 gauge. A lot of times you're going to see 23, like this one's 23 on the screen here, but if I go back to the one that we have in the cart, so this one is 24 gauge from Monoprice. I haven't had a problem with the 24. I have had some problems with the 23 gauge actually fitting in the end connectors on some of these crimpers. So we'll talk about that. So this is the first product up here. A couple things that are nice about it. A lot of these will actually have the remaining feet left printed on the jacketing, which is good. Comes in a variety of colors, blue, black, whatever you want. You can never go wrong with gray. That's what you have here. If you go to the gray one here. But again, just remember, try to avoid whenever you see CCA. CCA is copper clad aluminum cable. So with that said, I did have a really cool graphic overlay that I could put in the corner that showed the wiring for cables, but we're going to make a cable. And it's actually not that hard. So we're going to make a cable because I need one that goes from this switch over here to the switches that we're going to use. So I'm going to grab some of the tools that we have out here for today. And this is, what I normally would do. So I'm just clipping off. Now you may be running this through a wall. You may be running this between, office buildings. You may be running this anywhere, maybe between your home and a shed or something. And you may just have a bare end. Knowing how to crimp a new end on, and let me pull the top-down camera for you guys. So there's the end here. That's a lot thinner to send through a wall with a drill bit than something with a full-blown end that can get damaged. So I'm going to pull up the ends that I use. Hey, Kmart Kelly, good morning. And Tiffany Taylor, thank you so much for the follow. I do appreciate it. This is John the Net Guy. Today we're talking about networking products. Today's show is sponsored by the Sodola company. They have some pretty cool PoE switches. I'm just going to pull this up here. There is a giveaway today for this specific network switch that I have right here. They're actually going to drop ship it directly to you. I get to keep this one, thank goodness, because it's really cool. But this is a power over Ethernet switch that allows you to not only spread the internet throughout several different devices using a switch, so it's kind of like a surge strip, if you would, but this one actually sends power down those cables too, so you can run telephones, you can run a bunch of stuff. When it comes up on the show, I'll go in deep into it, but that's what you're entering for, and the URL for the giveaway is down there. Okay, so that said, this is the Cat 6 cable. What's the difference between Cat 6A, Cat 6, Cat 5, Cat 5e? just remember to try to be at least Cat 6 or higher. That's a good starting point for you guys. Cat 6, Cat 6A, there's shielded, there's a whole bunch of other stuff you can get. In most cases, Cat 6 or Cat 6A is going to be your best choice. Let me talk a little bit about what you might see on the inside of a Cat 6 cable. So the internet goes down here, goes down these wires. So you've got 4 sets of twisted pairs, and the colors are very, very common. So there you go. That's the colors you have. But you have this plastic piece in the middle. I'm going to try it on the side camera, see if you guys can see that better. There's this plastic filament. See that in the middle? And that plastic is a cross shape. And what it's going to do is it's actually going to keep those wires separated. So the shielding on these wires actually comes from the fact that they're tightly wound around themselves, and that they're separated and wound around each other. So you're going to see that. And the number of twists and all that stuff come down to the ratings. So very cool. I see a Dave Frank in the chat on Amazon saying a switch sounds like my kind of giveaway. The next product I'm going to pull up is actually a cable end. So if you're going to crimp an end on here, you're going to need a cable end. Now, what's funny is this is actually my bag that I take with me. So I've got a PoE inserter, I've got punch down tools, I got all sorts of goodies and gizmos. One day I'll have to do a demo of this, but this is the Platinum connectors that I use. Now, Platinum Tools is a company, Platinum Connector is a very nicely named near brand, let's say. But that is what we're going to use today. Now, Klein Tools, which is going to be shown a lot, also makes their own pass-through connectors. So if you want to get the Klein Tools Crimpers, which I have in there, and the Platinum pass-through connectors, both are great. Both are going to work really well. And one of the things that I love about these pass-throughs, I'm going to show it to you in a second, is that there's no more fighting with the ends. Let's pull this up on Amazon actually real quick, because it's going to be really, really apparent the difference here, and I can put it in a lot larger screen. So just pulling up the Amazon. If you're following on Amazon or you're watching on Amazon right now, you're actually going to get to see here the carousel, and in the carousel it's going to have the product. So this is the difference between the old-fashioned ends that you used to have to cut and then fit in just perfectly and hope that they were all measured the right amount. And this is the difference between that and these new pass-throughs, is that the cables pass through and then you cut them off clean. So again, whether you get the ones from Klein, which I have there, or if you get the Platinum Tools or Platinum Connector. Platinum Connector is a little cheaper. Platinum Tools is the official name brand. That's your Coke, your name brand version, but they are going to cost a little bit more. Pinky Tech says, crimping custom cables is always fun. It's actually really useful if you need a 23-foot cable and all you have is 20. You can make a specific cable that's needed for your length. I always do recommend for patching into networks and other stuff, if you're going from a wall outlet jack maybe or something else, that you use the exact right size cable. So again, lots of patch cables you can get. They're 6 foot, 7 foot, 3 foot. I like to use custom made cables because this does take a little bit longer. But if you're going from one area to another and you need to make a custom cable, that is what you do right here. So a couple things that you may need for that: a good set of crimpers, cutters, and strippers. Now, this just happens to be from Klein, and I'm going to pull this up now. And this is one I've just started using. I actually have a set in my bag that I use, but this is the version from Klein, and it's the highest quality they make. I was really excited to pick this up because I've been using a set of crimpers in my bag that are from a competitor. And they're your traditional ones, and they're a cutting crimper. The way you can tell immediately that these are cutting crimpers is they'll have a little blade there on the end. So these ones have a trim blade, that one has a blade. Some of them will even come with spare blades because those will wear out over time. But this one can cut a cable. It has a stripping area there, a jacket stripper. But I've actually been switching over to this. It's honestly a lot easier on the hands and a lot easier to work with. So I'm just going to show you guys real quick an unboxing of that. So this is their pass-through modular crimper. Now there's several different versions of this. There's one that only does Ethernet. So you can see this device here. So that's the RJ45 Ethernet side. If you need to do business phone systems, they're still out there. Sadly, I've done a few recently. There's a 6-wire version of RJ11, and that's their spec there. Now, there's 2 different wiring specs. I'm just going to pull this up real quick, just so you can see the pinouts. There's a very popular image, and I'm looking for the one. I had this all ready to go. And of course, so this is from Tech Mentor. Thank you guys for having this on here. This is the color coding here. Now, if you forget the color coding, it honestly is printed on the tool here. The B standard, I'm not going to rattle off all the letters, but the B standard is what we use in most cases. And most network switches, including the ones here from Sodola today, are actually able to switch back and forth. So whether you have a crossover cable, they call it, or you have a straight through cable, you can switch back and forth. So this is a tool we're using today. I'm going to go ahead and show you how we cut that cable and put that end on real quick here. So this is the crimping action. You'll notice that it's ratcheting. So if I put it down a little bit, it locks again, locks again, and then when it's all the way down, it opens back up. If you do get halfway down your cable and you go, oh no, I want a little bit more cable, there is an override feature right here. So you get crimping and you're like, oh, I'm halfway down this cable, I need to undo it. You just twist this and it will let you open it. Same thing on the more economical crimpers, but you have to put your hand in and you know, push the lever back. This one has just an override twist screw that you can do that. So let's talk about what we would do to cut and get this cable. So I'm going to go through and just cut it off using this tool as well. So I put it in deep into the jaws here, and I'm able to cut off just the end. So if you've been running this through walls, it's probably all beat up and banged up. You're going to want to run this through the cutter and clean off any of those ends. So you start with a clean end at least. You can strip as much or as little as you want. With Cat 6, I like to strip a little bit more because the wires are usually stiffer. You've got that center divider in there, and that's what it's going to look like as soon as you cut it. So it's going to look something like that. And you know what? I'm actually going to bring my side camera over because I think that's probably going to be a little bit less distracting for you guys. And I'm going to pull this guy a little bit closer. Then I can show you how we do it right there. Okay. So yeah, there's the cable right there. Now you can just loosely separate out the ends. One of the things I really like to do, if you got to do 100 of these for a patch down, punch down cables, let's see, here we go, or sorry, for a patch panel, you can take the end. I saw this trick on YouTube and I was like, yeah, you're never going to use that. By the time you've done about 20 of these in a row, you're going to go, oh, that's going to save your fingers. So normally you would just go through and try to grab an end and untwist the pair, just like so. But you can actually use the cutoff piece of shielding that you have, and you'll get used to it, and you can just run it down. It does the same thing, but you don't actually wear out your fingertips. That's another cool little idea there. So I'm running down here. Okay, so that's open. And then I'm going to use just a pair of scissors that I have. Now, these are ones that, I hate to say it, I picked up at a job site. Some other nice technician left them for me, and they've been working amazing. Klein also does have some cutters that I'm going to show you that you can use. And there we go. So going through here, I'm going to cut that center piece and that just extra string that you'll see in there. Most of them have a string like that. Okay, so now I've got these, but they have a pretty significant twist to them. Now, you don't want to bend them as far as I did normally. So I'm just going to go through with my hands and I'm going to just undo that natural twist that they've got in them. So we're trying to relax the wire a little bit. Now, if you get good at this, you can do it, I hate to say it, in about 10 seconds. I think I was down to 12 seconds start to finish for a crimped end. I was trying to do like a speed run or something, and it was pretty fun. If you get good with your tools, it's always fun to see guys that can really do stuff like chefs with their knives. So now I've taken and I've relaxed the ends a little bit here. And if I bring that diagram back up on the side here, what I'm going to try to do is make it match the diagram. And that diagram is kind of interesting because it's actually looking from the bottom side. And you can really mess yourself up. And honestly, I did this. I went out to do a cable many, many years ago, and it had been a while. And I kept crimping them, and I'm like, why aren't these working? Why aren't they running right? And it was because I was not looking at the bottom side when I shoved them in. I was looking at the top side. So if you look at the bottom side, That's the view you're going to get. So we've got that. When I say bottom and top, there's on the pass-through connectors we're looking at, there's the clip side, and then there's the bottom side. So I always try to hold it, get the hands right, like this, and then I can put the wires in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow that guide. Now I just memorized it. So orange and white, orange, green and white, blue, blue and white, green, brown and white, brown. Now, there's t-shirts. Craft Computing's so funny. He wears a t-shirt that has this, so I know we're getting into some nerdy stuff when he has the color code t-shirt out. So I'm just lining them up and kind of flexing them a little just to make sure, and I'm taking my sweet time here for you guys. To get the best shielding, you want to make sure that it's as tight as possible down here on the end. So make sure you kind of relax it all the way through. Now that's good, but they're kind of still got some waviness to them, right? Now that's not going to go through the end really well. So I'm going to go through here and I'm going to cut those clean off. Now this is normally with the cheaper pairs of ends that don't have the pass-through capability. This is normally where you stop. You put this on, whatever amount of stick out is there is what you're left with, and you don't get the highest quality. The other thing I really like to see, and you probably can't see it, is got really nice copper clean cut ends on there. So that cutting tool does a great job. Now, like I said, that would be normally where you'd stop. You'd push this in and it would stop. But now with these pass-throughs, I can push through, and we're seeing all the way through that cable. So this cable's coming all the way through, and I like to push it as far as you can. Get that jacket all the way up in there so it looks something like that. And that's perfect, exactly what we're looking for. Now, what I can do is take these crimpers, and again, there's the cutters we're looking at, the RJ45 cutters there. That has my color code on it too. It's got the B standard. Now, what's funny is you're looking at it and you're like, why is orange on the right side? Well, they've actually color coded it for whatever you're looking at. So if you're looking at the back side of the cable, it would be this. If you're looking at the front, it would be that. So it's kind of a cool idea. I was wondering about that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pass it through. Now you can see all those ends sticking out, right? And then I'm just going to push down. And that is a perfectly made network cable. So they cut right off at the ends. They're crimped down, so all those little gold contacts that come with this are pushed in. And now I have my own custom, I think this is going to be 6.5-ish feet of a network patch cable. Now, I would normally buy a cable like this, you know, making two ends, spending 50 cents on ends and whatever on the cable. Not as efficient as just buying, like this black one here, a 7-foot cable, and you're good to go. But like I said, oftentimes you're running this through walls, you've got other stuff you're working on, and you might just need to make a custom length cable. I'm going to check the chat real quick, make sure I didn't miss anything. And then I'm going to pull up a tool that we're going to need to look at next from Klein Tools, and pretty simplistic tool. And then I'm going to show you the advanced version. In any situation, I always recommend having a cable tester. So you don't want to put this together, go plug everything in, find out it doesn't work. You're up on a ladder, you've done whatever. So this is a really cool cable tester that you can get from Klein Tools. Now they got a couple different versions. This is the Land Scout Junior 2, and I'm pulling that up on the carousel right now. It's about $50, $50.85. There it is. And we're going to go to the side camera so you can see it here. So that's what it comes in. And it's actually two pieces here. So let me pull it up. So that's the tool itself. It's battery powered, and when it comes, it'll have a little tab here. You pull it out, and that activates it. And then this is the other side of the block. Now, I'll explain a little bit what that's for in a normal situation. But we're going to use this to actually test our network cable that we made live. Now, I made one end last night, and it may have been late. So if that's the end, that's the one that's going to be bad. I'm going to turn this on real quick. Oh, looks like it turned on automatic. Now, what it's saying is it's saying fail open. So all of these are open. And then I'm going to put this end in. There we go. Now, if the numbers match top to bottom, it's going to say pass. Now, if the numbers are out of order, you may have a crossover cable situation, or you may have a straight through wired cable. This is straight through here. So that's the situation. So that's how this cable tester tests. Now, it does work with their tracing tools. So if you want to trace your cable down, there's this little tone generator number here. I don't have that on this thing. It does have a backlight. So if you're working in a dark area, you can turn that backlight. This is from Klein Tools. It's on the carousel right now. It's $50. I'd recommend having something like this. Now, if you have a little bit more money to spend, the next one to me is incredibly impressive. I was really, really happy with this one. Sliding that back into our tool. So this is the junior version that I mentioned, and I'm going to pull up the next version, which is actually their pro version. I'm going to turn this one off. Now, this one does have automatic power off. It's going to do Cat 5, Cat 6, Cat 6A. All of these handle any type of really RJ45 cabling. The next one, and I'm super impressed with this. We'll actually plug it into this one, and I'll show you how that works. But this one is their Pro version. This is the Scout Pro 3. Now, I was just talking to Tom Lawrence. By the way, Tom, big shout out. Somebody's got to Discord this. I had to wear a nicer shirt because I'm on Amazon Live, but I've got my I am Root, Tom Lawrence Tech Systems, Lawrence Tech Systems, so shirt in there. But yeah, definitely a great product. Hey, Snarkfish, thank you for joining. This is awesome. And Dave Frank says, can't be much worse than putting together an RC car. There you go. Hops and Brews, a great YouTuber, says, come to my house and do all the custom wiring in my studio to router. He needs that. Seriously, we need to do some work over at Hops and Brews because he's totally getting packet loss here. But let me show you quickly on the top or the side camera, this one. There's a lot more going on here, and I'll tell you why. There are abilities to check on coaxial cable on this one. There's the ability to check on these little plugs, these devices or trace devices. It has a bunch more features if you're using network switching and you want to test where items are. So it can do not only just very basic cable testing, but it can actually do hub connection testing, making sure you're plugged into a hub without a computer even. And then if you're trying to trace stuff down, you plug a bunch of these into the wall sockets and you can actually find out how it's working. So that said, it can also do coaxial cable, and you're like, hey John, I'm never ever going to have to do coaxial cable. I thought the same thing. I actually did a job recently at our church with some of our tech team, and we ran coax to our front TVs. So if you're doing HDMI right now and you have to run an HDMI maybe 50 feet or more, I'm going to show you some tools here in just a second. This is from Blackmagic. Now, I don't have this on the carousel, but this is an SDI to HDMI converter. What this allows you to do is to run up to 4K resolutions and higher. You know, they've got tons of different SDI modules, but over SDI, that runs on coax, and it's a digital video interface, which is really, really awesome. But this thing can test coaxial cable, so standard coax. Now, if you're using coax, you can also do that around your house. Maybe you have a coaxial cable that runs and you want to extend it. You can use Ethernet over coax. It's called MoCA, and you can actually extend your home network using the coaxial cable that's already in the walls. So that's really cool. So Snarkfish, you're considering buying this one? I would buy it. So Tom Lawrence Systems, I sent him a picture this morning about the show, and I said, this thing is amazing, the features that it has. And he says, yeah, I actually use this one. So I was like, okay, that's a pretty good endorsement. This is the first time I've upgraded my tester. So I had something very similar to the Junior here. This is the Scout Pro 3. But let's talk about what it can do. Let me go grab that cable that we just made because I put it over here. Okay, so I'm going to bring it up on the side camera because this is going to be so impressive. I'm super excited about this one. So this is the screen, and it's showing that it's open right now. And I'm going to turn the backlight on so you guys can see it. So it says open. Now I'm going to plug in that cable that we just made. Now it's going to say open, but there's a button here that I can hit, which is pretty cool. I hit that button and it's saying 7. Remember I said this was about a 6.5 foot cable? It can measure the amount of cable that you actually have on this. So that was the test capability that it has, and you can use different pairs on it for that. But yeah, that was the distance measuring capability of it. There's a bunch of other different modes. There's tone generation. I'm going to get back out to the one I want. Okay. So then I'm going to test the cable itself. In 1 second. Turn it back on. Get back into test mode. There we go. So we're back to open. I'm going to hit this button so that you guys can see the screen. And when I plug it in here, you can see the ID it says is 1. Hopefully it's testing. Did I get that right? So ID1, I'm looking for that pass because I know that there it goes. Sorry, I just had to get in the right mode. So there is the pass. So it's saying that it's a straight through wired cable. ID number is 1. Now, why does that ID number matter? I'm going to show you a trick. So if you take these other devices that it includes, you see those numbered items? Let's say I have 5 different wall outlets in my home, and I have a panel down in my garage that has the outputs. You can take these little tiny devices and plug them into your wall socket if you're wired that way. So there's a wall socket. Let's say I'm just going to use a coupler so I can go to the end. And then I'm going to plug into the end of this cable. So that might be my wall outlet. And what's cool about this thing, pulling it up here real quick, going to see if it pulls up the ID number, because I did this last night and it was perfect. Okay. Oh, there it goes. See, I got to quit pressing buttons on this. Give me 1 second here. On again. It is actually super easy to use if you do the standards, and I am totally not. Okay, so ID 5 is what it's telling me. Now, this is not going to test for continuity. It's not going to make sure that there's not wire breaks or anything, but what it is showing you is that that is plugged into 5. Now, I'm going to pull it apart again, and I'm going to grab a different number just to show you that this is real. I haven't moved anything. Now, these couplers are not great. They don't push down real well, so I have to push it down. But there's number 3. So now I see number 3. So this is a really cool feature. If you've got a whole mess of wires coming down, you're maybe doing an office building, and you've got a bunch of different wall plates that somebody installed, and they just come down to a termination point, home run, and you don't have any labeling on those cables. I've been in that situation, and so that's really cool. The other cool thing is this does the same exact stuff for coaxial cable. So I just happen to have a chunk of coax cable here. Now, my coax doesn't have an end, but if you look at the end of this tool here, it's going to do phone, or this side is actually, sorry, RJ45, which is Ethernet, it's coax or business phone systems. But I'm going to take this little included adapter they give you, because again, I have an actual male end, and I'm just going to take it and I'm going to switch it over to the coax mode, and I'm going to add this here. Now, what's cool about this is if you want to, you can test continuity for this. So now it's showing that it's an open cable that's not connected to anything, right? You can take the other side of that little receiver that has the sides that we were testing with, and you can actually plug that in, and you'll see if the cable's good. But what I want to go is into a different mode, and that's the distance measuring mode. Same kind of thing, and it's testing it right now, and it's saying 0 feet. Let's see if I've got this down right. Is it going to do it? Oh, it's showing 0 feet. This thing, oh, there it is, 12 feet. It just took a while to get that. So I was just talking to my guys this morning. I'm like, how does this possibly even work? Because this thing knows that this is, well, about 12 feet long. If I stretch it all the way out, it's roughly 12 feet. How can it figure this out? And it uses a radio frequency that it sends down the cable, and the delay, the time delay for it to come back on the reflection. It's just really amazing technology that they have here, but really a cool tool in your tool bag. So if you don't think you're going to do a lot of coax or other type of wiring systems, you may be okay with the regular Klein tools, but I wanted to show you this as an option. Another thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to use a Sedola Hub to demo the next feature, because it's really, really cool. So we're going to go down here. We're going to go to the Sedola Hub. Now, this is the one that you can win. So if you're looking down in the lower right corner, you see that netguy.com/Sedola. This is the hub itself. We've got the 2 uplink ports right here. So these are the uplink ports that I'm going to be able to use. Give me 1 second. And you don't want to plug this tester. I was reading the documentation. You don't want to plug the PoE tester into the tester into a PoE port, because it does have active power that comes down. It could damage the unit. I am going to use the cable that we just made. So this is our custom cable, and I'm going to put it in the uplink of the Sedola 8+2. So this has got 2 extra ports. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to see if I can do this real quick. I'm going to put it into the hub flash mode. Now, I was able to do this with one of my other ones. I want to see if I can get this to do that. There's hub flash mode. There we go. I really want you to see this, because this tool is going to save you a ton of time if you're tracing wires down. See that little green light there? Hopefully it can, there it is. So that's the uplink. Now you notice it's flashing that it has a signal and then it doesn't. Has a signal and then it doesn't. What's doing that is your Clad tools meter here is in hub mode, and it's going to flash the port on your network hub. So if you've ever been in a situation where all of your lines are terminated at your hub and you just need to know what output this one is, this little tool, without grabbing a computer and trying to run traffic or do whatever, can generate a pulse that shows on your hub a blinking light, which is a brilliant use case for this thing. Another thing that I know is going to save me a ton of time. So that is the Pro Tester here from Clad Tools. I'll get the page back up on it. Oh, I do want to show you one other feature that it has. Let's say that we did damage our cable somehow, right? Now I'm going to try to do this without getting myself into too much trouble. So let's go on the side. Let's say you got an overly aggressive plumber. He was drilling through and he nicked your cable. And yeah, he's done a pretty bad job. Okay. So he's cut through the side wall of your cable right there. You can see that. Hopefully he didn't cut everything, but we're going to take this thing out of hub mode here. And we're just going to go into regular mode. Okay. See, I keep hitting the program button and I shouldn't do that. I should know by now. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to not use this cable with a switch because that would be bad. But what I am going to do is I'm going to run it through this tester one more time. So you can see that right now it's saying that it's all open because I haven't plugged the end piece in. So now I'm going to plug what they call the remote usually in most of these. And we're going to see what it says over time here. So it's testing right now. It's saying open. Want to see if it can figure out that damage that I put in the cable here. There we go. So now it's saying open. We have a fail on those pairs. So those pairs were cut. Now you may have a break that changes. So as you know, maybe this wire gets moved, the break is going to change. So you could see that. You can have different ones, but that is how sensitive this thing is it can tell if a cable maybe got damaged in the middle of the run here, which is pretty slick. So you can do that. Now, I'm wondering if you can take the distance measuring. Now, that would be really cool. I don't have that test set up here, but since it does let you measure distances by the pairs of wires, I wonder if you could actually go to the distance measuring, pick the second set or first set of pairs, and figure out how far down the run that break is because it has that ability. So another very cool feature of this is the ability to test for, you know, broken cables, things like that. Conveniently, the remote just packs right in the bottom. Turn it off just by holding the button down. That again is the Pro Tester from Clad Tools that we have on the carousel today. Let me pull up the carousel real quick and see if we've got anything else coming along. I'm going to go right into the switches now because that's the next products up. And I have 3 different switches from Sodola. Once I get through the actual switch, we're going to talk about this PoE one. When I get through that one, then we're going to have a great time. We're going to do the giveaway. So the giveaway is for a PoE 8 port switch. You can see the URL down there in the lower left. Okay. Putting some of these products back so we have a little bit of room. If you have any questions about these products, let me know. And then we're going to wrap up at the end here with some of the products to doing BNC or coaxial or other wiring. And I'll show you some of the wiring jobs that I've done in the past. The ones I'm proud of and the ones I'm not so proud of. So you'll get to see those. So definitely Blying the Pro, Snarkfish says, yeah, absolutely. You know, it is a great little device. I haven't had one that's that full featured in a long time. So I'm very happy to see that one. So first product I'm going to pull up again. This is the giveaway product. This is the Sodola 8 port. We're going to do that one last of the 3 Sodola products. Again, thank Sodola for sponsoring today's giveaway and providing these units for testing, which is awesome. I was been really excited to use them in my network, and a 2.5 gigabit switch is going to be incredibly powerful. So let's pull it up here. I've got the 24 port PoE from Sodola. So it comes in a nice box. I'm going to open it up here real quick, and there are a few things that I immediately like about it. A couple things real quick. Very well packaged. Does have a user manual that talks about their systems. Now, This one is pretty straightforward because it's an unmanaged 24-port PoE switch. But it'll talk about management tool login if you're going to log into their management tool. So that's in this simple manual. It talks about some of the different states and some of the different lights and what they do. Also shows you some of the other switches that they have commercially here real quick. Then I'm going to pull it out. Now, this one being 24 ports is more for business or a very active home. You know, it's funny, I see houses more and more now with 20, 30, 40 devices. Let me know in the chat how many devices you think you have at your home. That would be a really interesting thing if you start counting them up. Wall switches, I think I'm probably over 60 if I count my wall switches and everything else. But just quick on the top-down view, you can see that very, very simple front panel design on this. It's got 2 rows of 12. That's giving you your full 24 ports. The cool thing about this switch and what makes it so powerful is the PoE power. So PoE is a technology that lets you send power to your devices down the same cable that sends data. So you only have to do that. Now for the really advanced networks, it's going to have Sfps. Now these are gigabit Sfps. So SFP transceiver would go in there in that little slot. If you know them, you know them. You know exactly what it is. Being unmanaged is another thing about this. The difference of that is there's no software to log into. There's no configuration. You just plug and play and go. So that'll work for most people. Some business networks may have a more complicated network design and may actually require some of the other VLANing and other features. And in that case, this may just be a good distribution switch for a certain VLAN. If you have a certain VLAN that you want to plug a bunch of devices into and then have that go into your main switch. But to be honest, with the recent supply chain issues that we've had, I've actually stopped worrying about more complicated network designs. I'll run 2 cables and then I'll just run regular switches. I won't have to worry about VLANing for a backhaul or something like that. But if you're looking for VLANing, they do have that capability on some of these devices, including this one. It has a very interesting mode, the VLAN 1 through 24. You can turn this little rocker switch. I'm going to pull it up here for you guys. There's this little rocker switch that lets you go to VLAN mode, default mode, or extend 17 to 24. Well, what does extend 17 to 24 mean? They actually have a way, I believe it's 250 meters or over 200 meters. They have a way to like do a higher power Ethernet, so they can run this a lot farther. So that's a really cool thing. Batteries in the device and remote. Yes, they are not rechargeable. That was a good question. I just noticed that on some of the tools that we were using. The batteries are included on the Klein tools. There's a 9-volt and a AAA that are included on there. So we're taking a look at this 24-port PoE switch from Sodola. Now it does have, with all standard rack equipment, it's going to have rack ears. So what are rack ears? But these little guys, I'm actually going to pull them over here. So it's these little guys. And what's cool about this is if you have a home network and you want to just mount this to a wall, you can. So these little things can mount on the side and then you drill those into the wall. Or if you're going to, mount it into an equipment cabinet, you mount them to the side of the unit this way and you slide it in and then mount it. I'm going to show you a couple pictures actually. Now that we're back online somewhat. I had a heck of a time getting going this morning. If you're just joining, this is John the Net Guy. I do PC build, tech tips, gear reviews, and Amazon live streams, it seems. I have some pretty cool pictures of, network and designs that I've done in the past. I'm just going to pull them up for you real fast, just to show you what some of that stuff might look like. So here we go. This is what not to do, basically. This is another competitor's switch that I had installed before. And as you go over time, things get, more complicated. Now, this one actually was one that I did an install for of a network switch. And we came in a home. This isn't a home environment. We came into their HVAC room, just did a wall panel mount. You don't need a big rack or anything. And then again, using rack ears, like I was telling you guys, mounting it sideways. So you could do this, and I could see doing this with this one really easily. This is when that other room looked a lot more clean. So that wiring was a lot cleaner. And that's kind of the home run, you'll hear that term used, where you're running all of those cables into one location, and then you can use a switch like this. Now, the important thing to point out about this switch, which I want to talk about, was the power over Ethernet capability. So what does that power over Ethernet allow you to do? Let's plug it in, and I'm going to plug in some other devices, and you'll get to see right away. Other cool things about the 24 port from Sodola, I plugged it in and there's no extra sound. It's a fanless design from what I can tell. The only way I know it's running is that little red light, and there's a little indicator light on the front panel. So let me show you guys that on the side camera here. So yeah, there's that little red light that says it's going. There's all the ports across the front. And then that little red power light, because I got nothing plugged into it. Now, they make several different models. Like I said, they have managed PoE, they have unmanaged. This one's an unmanaged PoE switch, and it happens to be it's a fanless, all-metal design, and this is the one that has the 400-watt power capacity. So the PoE Plus standard, you've got certain amounts that you can send to certain devices. Most of them are not going to be using all the power at the same time. This one has a cumulative budget of 400 watts. Now, when I plugged it in with a standard, computer outlet cord and not an AC adapter, which I like. And this can also plug in, and what I would recommend plugging it into is a UPS, whether it's an APC or a similar variant. I would plug it into a UPS. Now, let's start talking about devices that you can use with this. I'm just going to plug into any of the ports because you don't have to worry about this port having PoE or that port having PoE. One of the most common ones that you'll get is a telephone. So this is a voice over IP phone. I can't tell you how many people have had the Cisco ones. This one's from Grandstream. And normally, when you go to install this thing, you got to find somewhere on their desk to plug power in, and then you go plug it into your dumb switch. Well, with a smart switch like this, we literally ditch the AC adapter because the power is going to come down the line from the PoE switch. So I'm going to go ahead and plug this thing in, and then you're going to see right away. So I'm plugging it into the LAN port, and you're going to see right away what this thing can do. It is pretty slick. Okay, maybe it's not right away. There's Grandstream. Okay, so it's booting the phone up. And if you look on the top-down rig, this is exactly what I have it plugged into. So it goes right from the phone to the switch. Well, why is this important? If you're running a business and you have this plugged into a UPS, Universal Backup Power, if you have that set up, uninterruptible power supply. Man, I'm having fun today. If you have that plugged in, then your phone system will work in the case of a power outage. You're also saving a bunch of desktop clutter. Those AC adapters don't last forever, so you're saving desktop clutter. And another cool thing about the Grandstream phones, which I like, is they actually have another port for the PC, and they'll do all the other cool LLDP and all the other cool identifying stuff. So that's the Grandstream phone. That would be one use case of this. There's many, many others. I'm just going to pull another device. In the case of hospitality, I showed you guys this before with some of their smaller ones. This is a wireless access point. So this is from TP-Link, and this is just a wireless access point that one might use, in a hotel or other environment. It has output ports, but the way it's designed to be installed is flush on a wall with this wall plate. So this wall plate comes off. Well, if your network topology is such, you could plug this access point into this PoE switch, and now you've got this powered up in a remote location in your building. Remember the cables we just made earlier? So I can plug this guy in, plug it in here, and now this thing's going to get the little white light turned on, so it's got good power. And now this access point just booted up. So now we have an access point in the switch. But we're not done yet. There's more. Here we go. So there is a power over Ethernet camera. So if you've got a security camera, up to 24 of them, you can very easily plug this camera into this switch, this power over Ethernet switch, and it'll fire up. So really, really nice to have this capability. We use power over Ethernet a lot in a lot of different environments. I'm going to see if I can find one for you that I've done recently. So yeah, here we go. So this is another structured cabling example. This is a network rack that I worked on not too long ago. There's me putting the patch panel in. But this would be a great spot because oftentimes we're running out of ports and we have to kind of sacrifice which ones go to the PoE. With a unmanaged PoE like this, with all of these different inputs, we're going to have the ability to run all the phones, all the cameras, all the access points and all that. And we don't have to worry about sacrificing, a port on a PoE switch because they're all PoE, which is great. So any questions in the chat, let me know. I'm going to pull that up real quick. Take a look. That is from Sodola. Now, that is their Gigabit. That's really important to point out. A lot of times you'll see on a budget or an entry-level switch, it won't have Gigabit networking. So you're going to be, down to fast Ethernet, which is like 10 megabytes a second max. So I like to have Gigabit. This thing is full Gigabit on all the ports, and it does, I believe, have more than 26 Gigabit of switching capability, so you're not going to be overloaded or saturated by one port if it gets busy. So that's a really cool feature of it. Let me just clean up our area a little bit because we're going to go to the next product. Now, there is a world beyond Gigabit, which is kind of exciting to me. And actually, Tom just recommended a new router for me. If all could not be chaotic here, my router died yesterday that I have here at the house, and he recommended a new router that is actually capable of switching 2.5 gigabit. So 2.5 gig is the next level of networking. So I'm going to pull that up because they actually sent me a 2.5 gig switch. Now I'm going to pull that up on the carousel real quick so you guys can see that. Give me 1 second. So now this one is only an 8 port. I'm going to pull it on the top down camera as we unbox it. This is from, again, Sedola PoE Networks. There's their warranty card. Very well packaged again. It's not going to get beat up bouncing around. It's got a plastic, outer bag on it as well. Now this one does not have additional ports, but there's a lot of tech going on in here. So all 8 ports are going to have 2.5 gigabit capacity, and then it has a higher than that switching capacity. The only drawback I see on this one, and again, because it's not using PoE, it doesn't need to have that higher power budget. So these are just a traditional switch. Without that higher power draw, it's only going to use a wall adapter, which is fine. I just don't prefer that if I can. Again, in this situation, a fanless all metal design, 2.5 gigabit. Now you're asking, okay, well, what if my computer doesn't have 2.5 gigabit? Well, do you have a USB 3 port? Because you can actually get, and I have a bunch of them here I'm going to test with soon, a 2.5 gig USB port. And the nice thing is a lot of your cables, patch cables, and other stuff will go automatically to 2.5 gigs, no problem. The next step after that is going to be 10G, 10 gigabit, and that's going to require usually specialized cables. That's going to be, 1 gig a second, roughly max transfer rate, which you're going to need hard drives that are that fast, a lot of situations like that. So this is their 2.5 gigabit switch. Same kind of technology that is in this larger switch, all metal, fanless construction. Ability to switch 2.5 gigabits at the same time on multiple ports. So it's got a budget, again, that's much higher than just the single port total. So I'm very excited to use that in the network design. Now we're coming into the fun part. This is the final product from Sodola, and I've shown you guys this one before, and we did kick the show off talking about it. This is a scaled down version of the 24. I could see putting multiple of these throughout an office organization. And what's cool about this one is this is their 8 port. We talked about that a little bit earlier. It has 8 gigabit PoE ports plus 2 uplink ports. They're all gigabit now, which is great. And because of these uplink ports, like I said, maybe you don't want to spend I think it was $183 for the large home run switch, and maybe your office just wasn't designed with all the cables coming to a home run. You can actually use these smaller switches, like 1 per floor, or 1 per office area, and you can add up to 8 power over Ethernet devices on this one PoE switch. So just showing that right now. That is from Sedola Networks. This is the one that we're going to be giving away. Now I'll give you the same demonstration I did on the other one. So if you want to run a phone, we plug that in. So we've got a little power indicator on the right side, but there's no fans in these, and it's actually a good thing. They're really, really quiet. I remember in my office environment days, we actually had a network problem. We had to move people from one floor to the other. We were working in a room, a temporary work room, and they had one of those 48 port switches, a huge one with a big screaming fan, and nobody could get their work done without wearing headphones, but it was pretty wild. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and plug in just to one of the ports here. Now, it's not going to be able to get internet, but I just wanted to show you real quick how this works. And this is that same Grandstream phone. It's a power over Ethernet, voice over IP phone, and there we go. So this one is booted up, and you can see that green light there. So that phone is booting up. Really, really cool to have single cable hookup. And it saves you ports, because if you can use the voice over IP phone with this, with power over Ethernet, the phone has a built-in second port on it as well. Just looking at some of the questions. Are there any quality loss from a cable that's been repaired mid-May versus no damage at all? Yes and no. There is a quality loss depending on how you do the repair. If you're going to do the repair like an electrician, or a with wire nuts or something, or a telephone guy with these little crimp down connectors, you're going to lose a lot of that shielding. If you use something like a coupler, that can be really useful for home gamers. This is just a real simple model, but there's a lot of them on Amazon. It's an RJ45 coupler. You can just put two ends on, slap that coupler in the middle, and you're good to go. That's another quick way to repair a cable. Great question in there. I'm checking the chat real quick. The giveaway page shows the giveaway is for, I think. Okay, so the 1 gig power over. Yes, that is awesome. I hate to say 8 2.5 gigs. And Hops and Brews was asking, is the 2.5 gig what is in the giveaway? Sadly, no. The 2.5 gig, let me pull up the Sodola, whole line here, and I'll show those to you real quick. Now, I have the wrong computer plugged in. I'm telling you, that's how my day's been going, you guys. Let me unplug this. We had some Amazon snafus this morning, and now we're coming back. Okay, there we go. So this is actually Sodola's page on Amazon. Just want to show you some high-res pictures of what they are offering here. So there's lots of different offerings. They even do have fast Ethernet, so 100 megabit for cameras. They have some very economical versions of that if you just need phone or camera capability. This is the 8-port one that we're talking about today. It's $45.99 here on Prime Day. And this one right here, the 300 watt version, was $199. And the 2.5 gig switch here, which we were just looking at, is $149. So if you're going to go into 2.5 gigabit territory like me, I would love to get this thing plugged in and working. I'm going to do that here soon with some of my network and backup systems, because it takes a lot of time. Gigabit is not fast enough in my network to copy footage and to back things up. A lot of YouTubers run into this. That the 2.5 gig upgrade is going to be great for me, so I'm very excited about that. And then you can see they have, other gigabit Ethernet switches and standard stuff. So this is a 24-port fanless rack mount, not PoE, and it's only $79 here. So again, want to thank these guys. They have lots of other cool stuff and PoE inserters. I was talking to them and I said, how are you guys getting your chips? Because a lot of the other manufacturers can't get gigabit chips. It's great if you own the factory, they said. So yeah, they have, their stuff is all made very well. I've had very good luck with it. And actually these devices are going to be upgrading my network here very soon now that the show's over. But that said, let's talk about the giveaway. So if you go to thenetguy.com/Sodola, like we were talking about, see that page come up? This is the product that we're giving away. This is a PoE 8+2 switch. It's the one right here. Now they're going to drop ship you one directly to you, so you get it even faster with Prime. But that is the product that we're doing. So if you sign up on that page, you're going to get entered for the drawing. I'm going to have to go tabulate those results real fast. We're going to run the drawing right now, so you guys don't have to wait. You'll know if you won or not. And if you decide that you want to pick up one of these, again, super big thanks to Sodola for sponsoring today's Amazon Live show on Prime Day. Just kind of putting some devices out here so you can see how they might normally be out in the wild. And I'm going to go tabulate this real quick, so you have a few seconds to get signed up in there if you haven't already. And I'm just taking a look on Amazon. No more questions on Amazon. So pulling that up, I got to log into my site. We'll do that real quick. How is everybody's Prime Day going? I have been really excited for this. Oh boy. Looks like I'm going to have to do some moderation there, Pascal, on the YouTube. The good YouTube comments spam. You got to love that. Okay, just logging in. I'm going to download some stuff here real quick and just taking a look. And this is for, and I'm going to pull it up on the carousel for you Amazon folks. This is the drawing that we're running right now for the PoE switch from Sodola. So again, very happy to do this. So we're just going to go here and we're going to go submissions. I'm going to download all the submissions. We'll get them put into a form. Oh, awesome. Lots of people have entered this giveaway. Very excited to see that. And prize wheel, just making sure everybody's got the nice clean names in there. And we're going to go through here and we'll do spinner wheel. Just getting loaded up. Uh-oh. I just lost my place here. I was getting an ad popped up on me. It's just how it works, isn't it? Oh no. Unfortunately, they've got this ad that likes to pop up right at the time. And this is the one spinner wheel that I love using because it works so well. And I'm just double checking the browser that I'm using on this one. Over into Chrome. Awesome. Let's try it in Chrome. See if it runs better in that browser. Okie dokie. Looks like we've got it. Okay, I'm bringing this up real quick. And we're going to do the drawing in 3, 2, 1. Spinning, spinning, spinning. Thank you guys all for joining. Oh, Drac Ryu. There you go, my friend. You have won the PoE +2 network switch from Sodola. Again, thank you so much to Sodola for providing these items for a fair and honest review. I'm very excited to see one of the people I know that won that one. Thank you so much for that. And I'll be in touch about getting this device out to you. I'm going to go through a couple more items real quick, and I'm just going to talk about how you might use those. So again, this is Prime Day. I'm going to be on many, many, many times today. Now, of course, I had everything set up to use a different service to be live with. So I'm having to do a little bit of more cable juggling here than I wanted to. Speaking of, where did I put that in? There it is. So, awesome. Hey, good to see you there, Eric, in the Amazon chat. We just did the drawing for the Sedola network. Now I got to take that drawing URL away. If you do want to see any of the items that we're using today, you can go ahead and visit my Amazon shop down there, and you're going to get to see all of the items today. Let me show you again how to get there when I get there. Okay, just want to show you a couple pictures of recent jobs that I've done using some of the tools that we've talked about today. So this is my little tiny car all packed up to go do a gig. I've got my network cable I was talking to you about there. I've got the bags of stuff. And of course, you got to have a hard hat, right? Nobody looks important unless they have a hard hat. Honestly, I was crawling through an attic running coaxial cable, and luckily it already had Ethernet through there. But this is the kind of stuff you can look forward to doing. And we were putting some massive televisions up in there, and this is a view of the attic catwalk that I had to crawl down on my belly. And then this is some of the tools I'm going to show you coming up here real quick. And this is the set of coaxial tools from Klein. So I'm going to pull those up in the carousel right now so you can see this. And this is if you were going to run maybe SDI video over HDMI. You maybe you have some TVs that you wanted to plug in. Let me show you an example of that. So this is the actual result that came out of this. So we have a system here, a video system. I had to go about 120 feet away. And so I was able to use some of the Klein tools that I've just pulled up. Again, I pulled up some of the Klein. This is a combination pack. If you're going to be doing Coax, you know, any of the Mocha networking, this is a really cool combination tool. I'm just bringing up some of them here on the carousel for you guys. One of them, and let's put an end on here real quick. One of them is actually really, really useful. So let's start out with the cutters here. I'm going to show you how to use these. So these are a very simple stripper for coaxial cable. I'm going to use that in combination with a pair of cutters and a crimper to put a new end on that coax cable we had out here earlier. Now there's many different kinds of coaxial cable. There's RG6, there's RG6Q, there's RG59, and all of them just have different standards, right? They're different amounts of shielding. So let me pull this over real quick on the top down. So this is the tools that they come with. Now on the back side from the box here, now I recommend buying all of them together, but I do have them individually in the carousel as well, in case you just want to use one. But let's say for some reason your guy at the this will be a funny picture, your network maybe out at the box here for the cable company was not plugged in, or it wasn't plugged in correctly, or the end got damaged, and you maybe want to put a new end on it. I may or may not have done this to the open cable box that was out on my street, but let's say this end got taken off. This one's got a plastic end here, so it's not as nice. So we start out with this, and I don't know if this is 59 or 6. We can look at it. Cable TV, 18 gauge, 700 feet. It's not saying, but I believe this is 59, but we'll see, because that's usually a little bit skinnier. So let's look at it on that end. So there's the end that we have of our cable, and we want to put a new cable end on it. Well, with the Klein tools, they make that super easy. So there's two sides to this tool. There's like a pass-through stopper that you see here, so you can see right through it. But if you push this stopper up, it's actually going to stop the cable at a certain distance. You're going to push down on the end, slide the cable in until it stops. So there's a little kind of a false ledge there where it has a line. So make sure you slide it all the way till it stops. Do a couple twists one way, and you can hear it cutting. Do a couple twists the other way, and then just pull off. Now what it should do is leave you with a perfectly cut end like that. Now there's different kinds. There's quad shielded. There's a bunch of different ones. If you want to put the end on here, very, very simply, this is again another Klein tool compression fitting. This is for coax. So in the F type on coax, it's going to use that center piece here right as the center of the end of your coaxial cable. So you're going to go ahead and push this through. Now in the BNC ones that they include, the video ones that we used, it actually has a little mating surface, and it uses gold-plated connections and all that. So now that's slid on. They've got some twist-on versions you can get, and that's going to fall right off if somebody pulled on it. But this is the next product up, which is a crimper. So I got two of these on the carousel. I just want to show you guys both of them real quick. So this is one set of a crimper. If you want a more universal one, and I was just looking at where I put him, this one from Klein is actually a much nicer tool option. So this one right here from Klein is their extended reach coax. And what's nice about the extended reach one is it's adjustable. So if you look on the side of this one here, it's going to have different settings for BNC, different settings for the types of connections that it needs to make. So if you're doing F type of just regular coax, so you can pull this through here, line it up, and just push down. Now when I did that, and I'm going to show you on the side camera here what that was, what I've done, again, I pulled it in there and I just pushed down. What it did is it slid that connector over the end. Now, if this is the right size, that's not coming off ever. So if you get smaller cable or something that's not rated for, the different ends fit the different sizes. But that's the difference of the Klein tool version and the other version right there. So the Klein one is this one on the right that they put in, and this one's for RG6 or 6Q, they're saying. So that one's probably a little bit bigger than, you know, even this cable. But there you go. So nice new end. So if you're having problems with your internet dropping out, possibly, you can use your cable modem, and it'll tell you if you're having line loss or any sort of loss. You might be replacing the cable along the side of your house. You can do that with these Klein tools. I'm going to pull up the different tools that I was using here. Okay, this might be slightly unrelated, but is there an Ethernet adapter for the Fire TV stick? Do you think it would make a difference? Absolutely there is for the Fire TV, and especially when you're doing 4K video. You know, that is not easy on older Wi-Fi or Wi-Fi that's maybe a little bit further away from in range. where you're normally used to? So that's a great question from Eric. So I would absolutely recommend searching Amazon for Ethernet for Fire TV Stick, because they do have Ethernet adapters. It goes into the power port, I believe, and it's just a modified power port. So again, we made our own coaxial cable, and that's exactly what I was doing at our church recently, using BNC ends. I'll show you that real quick here because it was a fun job, and it actually turned out really, really well. I'm going to do more of a deep dive in it later, but we went with some 86-inch televisions here. So we went from having our cross and other stuff covered up to, you know, a much better output. And I'm going to show you real quick how we distribute that. So this is an SDI matrix distributor. So you can put different cameras and different feeds to different places. It got donated for us, thank goodness, because these things are not cheap. But you can do this if you're running a small church IT team, or maybe you even just want to run a projector way on the other side of your house, or TVs way on the other side of your house. You can use coax with what I showed earlier, these SDI to HDMI converters, and you're not dealing with anything that's kind of hokey like some of these Ethernet to HDMI and back and forth. They all tend to never work, or they have latency and other stuff. The SDIs are much better for that. So that is the show today. We've gone through a lot of really cool products. Thank you guys for watching here. Eric asks, who won? Drac Ryu. Thank you, Drac Ryu, for playing in the giveaway. You did win from Sedola PoE Networks, and I want to thank Sodola again for sponsoring today's show. You won the very cool 8-port PoE that they included. Now, they also sent out their 2.5 gigabit switch, which is really cool. That 2.5 gigabit switch is going to upgrade your network. You'll know if you need that kind of speeds. And if you're doing a lot of video editing, a lot of backup transfer, even some of the internet connections now I've seen are going past gigabit. The internet provider in my area is offering 2.5 and 5 gigabit wired internet. That's just ridiculously fast. And you'll need switching capacity at that speed. So that's from Sodola PoE Networks. Again, the 8+2 PoE, if you have maybe a smaller need, maybe you're running a few cameras, or maybe you just want to have a switch in different locations in your building. If you do have a home run, this is a great PoE switch here. It's unmanaged, which is kind of nice. You don't have to deal with some of that. Like I said, a lot of people are going to go, oh, I just want managed switches and I want all this amazing control. But honestly, with a lot of the capacity issues we've had recently and, you know, a supply chain, having an unmanaged that you can replace easily or extend or purchase easily is really cool. All of these items are in stock right now on Sodola's website, on Amazon. On the Sodola page for Amazon. Let me go back to that. I was just showing you guys that here. And I would highly recommend you take a look at their items. And we'll go over there real quick. The way you reach that is you can just type in Sodola on the Amazon search. And you're going to find any of their products, and then you can click the homepage for them. But that's their full line of products. Again, thank you guys for watching, and thank you for checking in on the first show on Prime Day. I do have a couple other shows I want to tell you about real quick. I'm just going to pull up Google Photos one more time because I have some extra shows coming up today when I can figure out all the IT issues that we've been having this morning. It's mainly on Amazon's side, but give me 1 second, I'll pull that up. The next show we have today is one that I'm really excited about, and it's actually for Scepter monitors. So Scepter Company has sent me out a couple amazing monitors. They didn't tell me what the pricing was going to be on these, and I literally just looked it up, and some of these monitors are amazing deals. The $167, I believe, 27-inch 165 hertz gaming monitor looked really cool. They have a $199 240 hertz curved monitor, which I'm really excited to check out. And my all-time favorite, and one of the things that kicked off my channel, is this 30-inch ultra-wide gaming monitor. I believe it's $216. So great deal on those. If you do ever want to check out how to find me, you can go to amazon.com/shop/thenetguy. If you visit that website, you can see me there. If you come down, hit idea lists. The idea lists here are going to have all of the items that I showed today. It's going to have the upcoming shows. If we click here on the Prime Day show, this is for Scepter. Check those prices out. Those things are crazy. I've got two monitors here. One is $89 and another one is $94. So if you're just looking for an extra monitor, give yourself more screen real estate and maybe have a 24. The 24-inch is going to be a great one. if you look there, oh, so it's now even on a better deal, $159 for that 27-inch gaming 165 hertz I told you about, and then $199, and the last one is $215.97 there. And a lot of them have Prime shipping. I'm not logged in right now, so it's not showing me that, but really do appreciate you guys checking it out, and thank you for stopping by. I will catch you guys in the next one.